You're welcome back. And now still on this state governors versus NFIU on the directives banning state governors from accessing local government funds. And I have joining me on the conversation all the way from Abuja, Jide Ojo, who is a political analyst. Why do you think the governors waited this long before coming out to say that, before coming out to kick against the directives?
Well, I think they were more or less studying the situation, and the day is drawing close. You know that NFIU has given, I think, June 11 as either June 1 or June 11 as the kickoff date for the implementation, which they said no deposit money bank should honor any withdrawal of money above 500,000 naira cash from any local government whatsoever, and that the money meant for local government must first hit the account of the local government and subsequently could only be withdrawn either through check or electronic transfer. Now, possibly the governors were studying the situation, maybe watching for the reaction of the president, but I think the issue at stake is whether there was merit or there is merit in what NFIU has tried to do. I should say that it has taken NFIU a very long time for it to even decide to come to the succor of the local government. Because Section 162 that NFIU is relying on in coming up with these guidelines has been there. It's been there for a very long time. The Section 162 talks about joint state and local government account. It talks about distribution of the funds for local government and all of that. So you wonder whether the NFIU shouldn't have called for the implementation of that relevant section of the Constitution much earlier than it did. But better late than never, we wait to see. I envisage a situation where this case will go to Supreme Court for the interpretation of Section 162 of the Constitution, because the two parties are claiming to be empowered by the same sections of the law to come up with this new policy.
And so now that the governors have petitioned the president, writing him to call the NFIU to order, what do you think? How much can the president do concerning this particular situation?
I didn't get that.
I said now that the governors have petitioned the president, writing him to call the NFIU to order, how much can the president do concerning the situation?
I don't think it's the responsibility of the president to call NFIU to order. Don't forget that NFIU is a creation of the law. It's a creation of the Act of National Assembly. NFIU used to be under the, I think under the EFCC until last year when they had to pass an executive bill requesting for it to be an independent unit in order to assist in fighting corruption. So it's not under presidency, and I don't think the president has any stake in calling NFIU to order on this matter. Don't also forget that NFIU is not acting alone. NFIU actually, if you read the press statement upon which the guideline is premised, said they were actually under international pressure to release the guideline in order to enhance transparency and accountability in local government system of Nigeria. So it is not as if NFIU single-handedly wake up and decide to come up with the guideline. I wish you could read that press statement again. You will see that NFIU itself was pressurized by international financial institutions to come up with these guidelines, because the local government we're talking about is an independent, or supposed to be an independent arm of government. We are talking of 3 tiers of government in Nigeria: the federal, state, and local government. If one arm is subject to the whims and caprices of another, then there is nothing called autonomy in that respect. How can you say that this is an independent tier of government and then the funding for that tier of government is tied to the apron string of another tier of government? Why should the money meant for local government first go to the state government before it will come to the local government. And how transparently has this money been spent over the decades? I mean, the joint state local government account. A newspaper did a report a few days ago saying that I think it's something in the neighborhood of 12 trillion of local government funds have been pocketed. I think that was the word used, pocketed by state governors.
And you know, this is interesting because when the NFIU came up with the directives, the senators backed the NFIU, threw its weight behind the agency. And then these senators, some of them who were former governors themselves, came out to say it's a good one. So one would wonder what prompted or what has informed the decision of the governors at this time.
Well, what may have informed their decision is they see an honeypot being taken away from them. This is money. The money meant for local government has been used more or less as a slush fund over the years. Not only that, don't forget that the greatest albatross of this issue of state joint local government account has been the reckless creation of local council development authority, LCDAs, and this was started by Lagos state government under Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who in 2001 created 37 LCDAs. You recall the story. There are 20 constitutionally recognized local government in Lagos, but there are 37 LCDAs also existing in Lagos. And each time the last year, Lagos State Independent Electoral Commission conducts elections, since that time, they conduct elections into 57 local government / LCDAs. Now, the LCDAs are not getting funding from federal government. Obviously because, according to Supreme Court decision of 2001 or 2002, I am not too sure, between 2001 and 2002, when Lagos State government, under this same, our vice president, when our vice president, Yemi Osinbajo, was the Attorney General of Lagos, it took the federal government to court, it took Obasanjo administration to court, that the court should declare the withholding of the funds of local government meant for Lagos as illegal. Of course, Supreme Court's final judgment on that says it was illegal for Obasanjo to have withheld the money meant for the 20 local government of Lagos. But then, that the LCDAs, which the Lagos state government is funding through this, the fund meant for this 20 local government, was wrong. Why was it wrong? Because the creation of those LCDA are inchoate. Inchoate in the sense that they cannot, but for them to be constitutionally recognized, there have to be consequential amendment by the National Assembly, who will then list them in the Constitution. The 774 local government we have in Nigeria are all listed in the Constitution. Now, the state local government joint account is a way by which the governors have been funding, in my own estimation, illegally funding these LCDAs. Because the LCDAs are not getting federal government monthly subventions. So how have they been running? What the governors usually do is that money meant for local government comes into this state's local government joint account and are redistributed at the state level. So do you think that
these local government chairmen themselves have been helping situation?
You said?
So do you think that local government chairmen themselves have been helping the situation, allowing themselves to be used by these state governors?
They don't have choice. They do not have choice in this matter because the funding doesn't come to them directly. Do you get what I'm saying? The funding does not come to the individual local government. It was just, they will say, Kano has 44 local government. The 44 local government's funds goes into this state local government joint account. So the governors sit on it and redistribute to now cover the expenses and expenditure of all the LCDs for the states who have created all LCDs. It's not all the states in Nigeria that have created LCDs. I know Osun State has created, I know Lagos State has created. I'm not too sure of any other state, but I know quite a number of states have created the LCDs. Now, why they are kicking against this money meant for local government eating their account first is that it will distort the funding arrangement that have been put in place for the LCDs, because it will not be the governors will not be relying on the goodwill of each local government chairperson to part with some of the funds that have come into his account in order for them to fund these LCDs that have been created. So the situation currently is that the funding goes directly to the account of the state, the joint account of state and local government. But if the implementation of this NFIU guidelines starts, the money will go directly to the local government, and then the local government will now be either coerced or persuaded to part with some of their funds in order to be able to fund the LCDs that have been created.
So lastly,
and that's why they are vehemently kicking against the implementation.
Sorry to cut you. Before I let you go, do you foresee a situation maybe the governors may change their mind on this now, seeing that they now have a new chairman, that's Kayode Fayemi, as the chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum?
No. There's little or nothing Kayode Fayemi as the new chairman of local government and the new chairman of Governors Forum can do about this. This is a constitutional matter. What I feel will resolve this whole hula baloo is either the federal government, the NFIU, or the Governors Forum will approach the court, possibly the Supreme Court, because this is a state matter, possibly the Supreme Court, to seek the interpretation of Section 162 of the Constitution. And whatever the Supreme Court says, if the Supreme Court now says that NFIU errs by wanting the money meant for local government to go directly to this local government, then we will know that it is not the making of it's not for lack of attempt by the NFIU to make the councils independent. But if the Supreme Court rules otherwise in favor of the NFIU, then the governors will have to keep their mouth shut. This is an issue that will only be resolved and can only be finally resolved, not politically, but legally through the courts.
All right. Thank you very much, Jide Ojo, for joining us on the program. We'll take a short break now, and when we return, we'll continue with the program.
On Deji 360, we don't just ask the questions.
What is wrong with amending the Constitution the way the National Assembly members have been doing it?
We seek answers.
Constitution is constituent. Our problem is not lack of laws. Our problem is lack of the willpower to implement our laws.
Answers that provide clarity.
While we negotiate, we should try to make it a point that the girls must be complete.
The clarity you need to make informed judgment so that you can make the right decision and take action.
People are saying it is you politicians that are responsible for this, that you are the reason why this is happening.
All these dollars that call themselves governors in this country.
I wish we had people like Tony at the National Assembly.
God forbid that I go to join that band.
Deji 360, providing clarity to issues.